Thank you everyone for being here. It's wonderful to see you. Welcome to Gestalt for April 2023. Happy Earth Day. We certainly need it. Our featured poet today is Lily Rex. Thank you all for being here. We are blessed to be together today. I know we'll have a wonderful afternoon of poetry. To stay tuned with Gestalt, please visit www.amyhoskins.com/writing. And on May 27th, Brandon Long from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, will be our feature poet. Now let's get back to today. Lily will go first, then our fellow poets. Let me go in and put the fellow poets in there. Chat. Here we go. And if you're not on the list, please let me know, and I can add you. Just send me a direct message. Okay. Lily Rex is a queer, Nashville-based writer obsessed with American history, rivers, and music. They hail from Northwest Indiana, where they were elected first poet laureate of Highland, Indiana in 2016, and amassed over 600 bylines in 3 years as a government watchdog reporter for an independent newspaper. They competed in the 2019 Individual World Poetry Slam and are the author of the poetry chapbook, Rivers Have Friends Too. And this is the book. It has a beautiful heron on the front and beautiful turquoise ribbon. And she gave it to me after we were at a art fair in like June last year or something. And I read it and I was just amazed. It was so moving. And I asked her to be a feature poet. Yeah. Welcome, Lily.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here. It seems like you created such a cool community with this reading series, and I love that it's accessible. People from all over the world can tune in and enjoy the poetry. And I think it's so cool that you brought up the heron, because I was just fishing with my friend, and we saw 3 blue herons, and they're such an important symbol to me, and I thought it was so interesting that we saw 3 of them in one spot. So just like an hour ago, I was knee deep in a creek, and I'm going to read you poems about how important creeks and rivers are to me. This first one is called What Rivers Offer. And what I'm going to read first is kind of a long epigraph to it before I start. In 1910, a massive rerouting effort began on the Kankakee River. The goal was to straighten the main river channel and drain the vast wetlands that once comprised Northwest Indiana, so the fertile river bottomland could be cleared and farmed. This effort reduced the Kankakee River to almost half her length and made her especially prone to flooding. In 1900, decades-long efforts to reverse the flow of the Chicago River succeeded. The river needed to be reversed because it was polluted by the city. When it flowed into Lake Michigan, made the largest local source of drinking water deadly. To this day, the sediment at the bottom of the Chicago River 100 years later is still toxic. My great-grandfather's mistress was the Kankakee, and she was once a racetrack for anything that swam. He swam, but he never saw her real face. She used to be seen sprinting and darting in S-turns through the forest, around alongside the catfish and bass surrounding them. If we could Google map the past, we would see she used to look not unlike a pile of rubber bands scattered on a table. Now she's only half as long. The current map of her looks fake, mathematical, like someone used a ruler to draw her a best fit line in blue Sharpie marker. And the bayous are just points hugging it on the graph, but at least there are the bayous where she stretches her arms and legs, overstepping boundaries that shouldn't be there. The Kankakee River knows what it's like to be gay in Indiana. People expect you to be straight. You cannot stop from spilling over into yourself. No swimming is allowed in the Chicago River. From the time the first white settlers arrived, the river was a dump, constantly trying to run away from itself, escape the sewage by flowing into the arms of his lover. Started in 1822 when Congress arranged the marriage of the river and Lake Michigan. It went as well as could be expected. Their relationship quickly became toxic, the resulting feud dramatically affecting the people of Chicago. The divorce was just as ugly, but at least everyone could stomach the lake's water again. They turned the river around in 1900, and the Chicago River knows what it's like to be depressed in the Midwest, among other things. He knows what it's like to be looked at like you'll swallow and poison anyone who gets too close to your negative current, to be isolated, regarded as dangerous. He knows the value of someone who can sit with you, not saying a word, just to be there with you, withstanding the weight of your silence and your many lives and deaths. They know what it's like, rivers. You see, when you're a sorry excuse for a pendulum, when you follow the directions on the box and there's still 3 parts left over, when you used to be Medusa, but you shaved your head and faked your death, when society tries to straighten you, make you flow in a way that's convenient for them, be like a river. Rivers remember how to be inconvenient, that it's only natural to break man-made boundaries. Every once in a while, the Kankakee tries to take back her stolen wetlands. She floods, blocking traffic on US Route 41, reclaiming boat launches, bridges, roads, and other lives that once belonged to her. People drown in her every year, and I think maybe sometimes she doesn't return their bodies because they came from a world that seems like it never wanted them in the first place. Rivers care. Rivers have friends too. Like the Hudson was friends with Tyler Clemente. No one would ever know this, but it makes them sad too each time they fail to be a trampoline to a better place. And if you can't take it, they will take you and try endlessly to bounce you back somewhere where you'll be loved, though they simultaneously know they can't and don't know their own strength. A river that's never been tampered with is an endangered species. As is a person who has not known shame, we are an endangered species. We speak the same language. That's why sometimes a river is a better friend than anyone who speaks. Our bodies are mostly water. So if you're different, if you can't take it, know that nature is on your side. There are giant, gorgeous, wild, gentle beasts that dissolve bullets and just collapse away from hate, feeding everything around them, but they need nothing to survive except for themselves. And you are just like them. I spent about 4 years writing that poem. And here is another one of my favorites that's very much about water. This one is called Death Wishers. The borders of Indiana, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan extend into the lake. Fishermen are cautioned to have proper licenses. The biggest Chinook are found at 80 feet, but if you're in water deeper than 60, you're probably in Illinois or Michigan waters, and an Indiana license won't do. When you're out in the middle of Lake Michigan, even if you can't see any shores, and for all you know, there's nothing left but water on the earth, supposedly someone governs it. Supposedly someone owns it. But who handles the bodies that don't know borders? Duck hunting on Lake Michigan in January is a death wish. That's what my grandfather said when Charlie asked him to go. So Charlie's brother, and his friend took to the chunky, frigid waters, the 3 of them like a holy trinity. And it took a few days to find the sturdy 40-foot boat upside down. No bodies, confused, like the semi-truck they missed by a short hair when they were speeding north on 41 the day Sills got shot in the face. Charlie's speedometer hit 115. Even Sills, with a face full of birdshot, was screaming, blood spraying with spit. God damn it, Charlie, slow the fuck down. You'll kill us. But for the people who can't slow down, where do they go? I read Into the Wild in high school, and none of my classmates seemed to understand why Chris McCandless gave himself a new name, and I was the only one who called him Alex, while my peers called him crazy, the boy who lived a full life and died in Alaska all in the span of one summer. I called him Alex. I thought he was brave inside my own head. I don't know what it is that brings humans to die in the wild. How is it that I sympathize with this urge, the feeling of needing to escape from everywhere I've ever been? Maybe the Oedipal complex reaches the sons of Mother Nature. Electra could love an indistinct bastard creator. Antigone must have tried to bury a river at some point in an effort to be family to the things most people either fear or destroy. You see, the tires on Charlie's Thunderbird were bald less than a year after he bought it. And I think anyone should rather replace their tires 100 times than keep the same ones for 100 years. Lay a piece of yourself in 100 places rather than dying whole in one. The dance of the death wishers, sometimes a tapping, sometimes a ballet, always interpretive, never inhibited, resounded in my head until I was 12 years old when I gave up my dream of running off to Nashville to become a country music singer. It's still back there, occasionally sends me quiet taps, and the rhythms command me to ask, are the others reckless, or are we too much like trees, rooted tightly in a world concerned with longevity more than life? Somewhere down south, in Bumpus Mills, Tennessee, they called Charlie the wheelman, but I think of him as Captain Nemo or an Olympic swimmer. All the Midwest horses, all the Midwest tugboats, and all the Midwest men have never retrieved his body. It reminds me that I heard in a eulogy once about a cemetery in Italy has a big wrought iron sign that reads, "As you are, I once was. As I am, you will soon be." A warning, but not one that mentions death as we know it. Waters can't really be governed. Some people just disappear. All of us do, really, if you think about it. They disappear from their bodies, return to the earth, and leave nothing behind that we can see, only stories. And for some of us, it's fitting to never be found. So Charlie, the wheelman, swim faster. When no one listens, I sing, maybe you're still alive. Maybe you're still alive. I find that one really funny in hindsight because actually 1 year ago today, I ran away to Nashville to start being serious about music. So I didn't actually give up. It just took me a lot longer to get here than I thought it would. Next, I'm going to read a poem that's very dear to me about my hometown. And it's one of those that it's probably funniest to you if you're from my hometown or if you're from Northwest Indiana. But I think everyone can still appreciate a goofy story. Everyone has there's something about your hometown, right? Where there's a certain part of the town has this goofy nickname. Where I'm from, there's this one subdivision that everyone calls Frog Hollow. No one's ever been able to tell me why, so I came up with a poem about that. This is called No One Knows Why They Call It Frog Hollow. As far as we can tell, no one knows exactly why it's called Frog Hollow. The bowl-shaped border subdivision between Highland and Hammond, there are only two ways, in or out. Houses close together, neatly tended lawns, decorated with foam Proud Union Home signs, pierce the ground on shaky steel legs. The little Calumet River snakes by to the north, pretends it doesn't notice the rows of small houses between the hills, feigns politeness, feigns remorse, exclaiming startled, "Sorry, didn't see you there," as each time she floods over into it, her rusty water traversing the wide streets, tugging at one house's foundation when she thinks no one's looking. But none of this explains why they call it Frog Hollow. I remember clearly, one day I was riding my bike down 81st, and I saw Devin mowing his lawn. He was about my age. I bet he didn't know either, right? I stop and ask him, "Hey, Devin, you've lived here as long as I have. Why do they call it Frog Hollow?" Devin says he doesn't know. He's only ever seen toads, not frogs, in Frog Hollow. I find that very suspicious. I stop at a gas station to buy a Gatorade, and I decide to ask the old man behind the counter. His name tag says his name is Fred. I ask if he's lived here long, and Fred says he was born here. He worked at Inland Steel for 35 years, and he knows exactly why they call it Frog Hollow. Well, tell me, I exclaim. And he says, well, back in 52, there was a real true gully washer, a real stump mover, an unbelievable goose drounder of a storm. My Uncle Travis lost his brand new Chevy, darn thing just floated away. Anyhow, rumor has it, this kid named Daryl Hunt was playing in the mud by the railroad tracks. One of them big waves, tsunami, something, that's what they call them. One of those big old waves leapt out of the river, knocked him clean over. And he was all right. But when the water stole away, he realized he had left every single frog that lived over by that river was sitting in front of him, leering with hungry, beady yellow eyes. Nobody ever saw Daryl Hunt again. Now, he loved to go gigging frogs. I think that had something to do with it. Now, I was a 5th grader, okay, but I was not gullible. I did not believe this. I decided to ask someone more reliable at school. So the next day I raise my hand in science class and I say, Mr. Boylan, why is it called Frog Hollow? And our ever patient teacher, Mr. Boylan, explains to us that a hollow, geographically, is a place in the forest lower than the rest of the hills or mountains or whatever it is around it. And as sharp as we all are, Jeff pipes up and says, that doesn't explain the frogs. Do frogs like low elevation? Matt chimed in. Does that mean there are no such thing as mountain frogs? Billy inquired. No way, I've been on a mountain once. I saw a frog there, know-it-all Ashley proclaims with indignation. And then new girl Emily says Frog Hollow is actually called Wicker Park Manor. We all look at her without a doubt that she is crazy. On my way home that day, I asked Susie's mom why it's called Frog Hollow. She says she has no idea why they call it Frog Hollow. All she knows is this: between the swampy tree line, along the bike path, south of Grand Boulevard, with the unpredictable neighbor, the river, where she always tells Susie and her brothers not to play, and the hills you have to crest each way to come or go. There are only 2 ways to get in or out of Frog Hollow. You either swim or jump. My next chapbook that I'm working on, and this is some exclusive info you're going to hear right now. I haven't put this out on Facebook or Instagram yet. Only my friends know that I've been working on a chapbook where I pay tribute to famous musicians that we've lost in plane crashes. I hope that it will be ready for sale in June, and it's going to be called Little Planes. And one of the first poems that I am super excited about that I wrote from that is a reflection on Stevie Ray Vaughan and his music. And Stevie Ray Vaughan passed away. He was killed instantly in a helicopter crash in Troy, Wisconsin in 1990. And this is a work in progress, and it came about because I was reflecting on how Stevie Ray Vaughan left an indelible mark on the world, obviously, right? And he left similar indelible marks on his guitar, just from playing it so hard, so violently with his legendary, huge, strong hands. He wore the paint down on it. And it reminded me of the people that I talk about in my Death Wishers poem, the people who live such a vivid, full life, and then their life is cut short. And I'm sad, but I'm also not sad about these people because I know that they were enjoying every single second of it. And I think not everybody gets to say that when we reach the end. Not everyone says, I have no regrets. I did everything I wanted to do. So in a way, I look at an early death like, yeah, it's sad, but some people just get called home earlier, and to die young also means to never feel limited in a way. Stevie sang about a flood, and don't we all know what that's like? From the time of Moses to the time of melting glaciers, From the beginning to the beginning of the end, our bodies have always been mostly water. There's definitely a flood within me. Oh, I'm sorry, Stevie. I brought the flood to Texas. I'm the reason you can't call your baby. I'm rushing around the bend, through the streets, through the historic downtown, washing away everything with my mind. When I filter down the streets, I lift and carry the earth. I move what even the earth itself, what even gravity is no match for. I used to want to be a geoscientist, but I couldn't give up my love of writing. I had to choose love over curiosity. I am geoscience itself. I'm the phenomenon itself. I'm not a person. What is a person anyway? I'm three forces of nature in a trench coat. Shh, I'm trying to sneak in to the R-rated movie of my life, and I don't think they're going to let me in. They don't get paid enough to clean up the kind of mess that I could leave. But I promise that I'll behave if they give me a sneak peek. I won't spill over indoors. I know my place. My place is knee deep in a creek, in the holler, next to the mighty river, among the wisest, oldest trees. I promise I know how to act indoors. Please let me in to the concert, to the theater, to your home, and I will know when to leave. I won't overstay my welcome. I know when my forces have become too much, and I'll see myself out. All you'll see is the screen door rattling in the breeze. All you'll smell is the last few puffs of smoke emanating from a crackling campfire. My footprints in the dirt will be no different than the imprint of the root systems of the wisest, oldest trees, and I'll see myself out. There will be no fanfare. You won't have to ask me to leave. I won't overstay my welcome. It was supposed to be like this. Chaos is all I could ever do. Uncertainty is the only peace that I have ever known. I won't overstay my welcome, but you'll always know I was here. How are we doing on time? Am I over?
I think you're just at, but would you like to do one more? Is that okay, guys? Okay, good. Would you like to do one more?
Sure, I'll do a short one. This is the one I gave you as my sample poem, and it's one of my favorite poems that I've ever written of all time. It's it's definitely my all-time favorite short poem, and it shockingly came together in 15 minutes. It's called When I Think of the River. It is my heart that hangs over the water, where it dangles from a branch, a limp rag that doesn't care it gets heavier each time it kisses the current. It is my heart that plays a mandolin from one side of my ribcage for itself, saying it's a privilege to live here and would be an honor to die here. When the river floods, it's my heart that swells and remains after her cream and coffee waters have receded. I keep vigil over what will always belong to God. My body is more water than most. If you don't understand what I'm giving you when I give you river water, I'll tell you again. It is my heart. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Brilliant, moving, wise storyteller. And I love the way you personify the river in so many levels. It was just brilliant. Anybody else want to unmute and say nice things?
That was so lovely.
It
I
was.
apologize. So lovely. I grew up in a town that had three rivers, Pittsburgh, Monongahela, Allegheny, and the Ohio. And as a kid, one of my first environmental thoughts was, as you drove over the bridges over these rivers, the horrible colors, the unnatural colors that were polluting these rivers. And just as about the time I'm appreciating this. Then there was a river that caught fire downstream because of the horrible things they were doing
Is
to
that
it.
the Cuyahoga River?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
It's
it's from
it's
Ohio.
a couple times. Yes,
Thank you.
I know that
Thank
story.
Wow.
Thank you.
Well, it's Earth Day and there should be a climate emergency. I keep telling President Biden, please do it.
It was perfect to have Lily on this day.
I
And
agree.
frankly, I was surprised by how good you were. I mean, I think everyone is, and I really appreciate everybody's poetry, but I couldn't get over the fact that as a young person, you are so accessible and so clear in your images, and how you kind of close up the binary between nature and people, and even sexuality, you know, how it spills over. You can't contain it. I felt like I was being carried along by nature the whole time, and you have a tremendous amount of gratitude. That's clear.
Thank you so much.
Praise.
Yes, thank you, Lily. I really ever since I've been swimming in rivers, I used to be scared of rivers, but my relationship has changed. But pollution in England has changed as well since Brexit. So I'm with you so much on this, and I loved how simply personal and deep your relationship with river is, and it just shines through your poems and your imagery. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I have been to England and I absolutely wanted to jump into the Thames. But I was there on a study abroad, kind of a school trip, and I don't think my professor would have taken kindly to that. I'll have to.
Unless no, as long as you don't take a mouthful of it in, it's terrible. All the rivers. I read a report once that there are no rivers in England now that have not got serious pollution. But I loved your river poem, and I thought as well. I was thinking of I've known rivers. You know, like what's that poem?
There's dusky ancient rivers.
I think like in American culture, how rivers, probably more so than in England and in small countries, rivers have really kind of shaped your culture and your feelings and your thoughts. You know, there's a huge things, you know, like you have like the Mississippi, the Missouri, and I think was it Rick mentioned the Ohio. You know, it's, and again, when I'm reading American literature and things, you know, that they kind of shape your feelings and your impressions there. But I thought that was a really great way to develop all those kind of emotions and thoughts of yours.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought up that Langston Hughes poem. I love that so much. My soul has grown deep like the river. That's how it ends.
I also, I'll echo everyone else. I absolutely love your poetry and I can't wait to see more. But there's also a quality when you read. I felt so much heart and depth and openness. And there was a real congruence with the words and the poems. I'm really moved, and I think this is going to affect me, at least for the rest of this day. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I felt your style, your delivery, your words. I felt like it was all flowing me along on a river, and it was a beautiful trip. Thank you.
Gosh, thank you so much, Silly. That was amazing. Thank you.
Can I let everybody know my chapbook? I still have,
Please.
it's a limited edition. I do still have some for purchase. I do tend to handle it all personally. It's not available on Amazon or anything, but if you want to shoot me a DM on Instagram, I will mail it to you wherever you are. It's $10.
And that's at Lily, no wait, at
Rex Poet.
Rex Poet, yes.
And it is, sorry, for anyone in the Chicago area, some of the local bookstores have it. And it's available from the Nashville Free Poetry Library. And also, if you want to buy one, and I could send you two, one for you and one for a little free library near you. I believe my friend Siobhan is on the call right now, and I did that for her. And she put one of my books in a little free library in near New Orleans.
Wow, that's beautiful. Please do get the book. It is so amazing. I mean, if you enjoyed today, you'll so enjoy the book.
People
right.
in like 14 states have bought them, and there's someone in Germany who has one. So I love to see I like to say the herons are migrating, traveling the world.
Please, can you post your link, Lily,
Yes,
in the
please.
chat?
And I'm going to post the fellow poets. I have 3 more to add, which I will add now. I don't know. Why is it doing that? There it is. I've got Kate Jenkinson, Eike Waltz, and Deborah Burris-Kitchen. So if there's anyone else, just please let me know, and I'll add you. Now, first of all, is Sylvia Ang here? I don't see her. She was going to come in at 2:30 in the morning. I think maybe she wasn't able to come. Also got Alexandra was at another event. Mary Lou, I don't believe is here. Susanne West. Susanne West.
Gotta quickly put myself together. All right. Thank you. And again, such big thanks to Lily, wherever you are. All right. So this is called Light and Dark Are Soulmates. I'm done. I've stopped believing. I don't need to shine for love. I am not too intense, moody, thin-skinned, temperamental, weird, or too gray, wrinkly, hairy, scarred, lumpy, bumpy. I am not too anything. I found my growl, my howl. I lick my fur, swish my tail. I love my thunders and my storms, lunar laugh, the night. I revel in the night and her creatures. They know me as their own. Moon's magic angels led me to my kindreds, timeless brambled ones who trust spiders, trade secrets with cats, cry in public, would never let a fallen bird die alone. Look far into aching eyes, melt frozen tears of the shivering ones. Follow the call of raw wind. Let wild wonders have their way with them. They're done with this is God, this isn't. They know winter screams joy in the caves. Blood can be nourishing like rain. Wounds are openings for love. Life and death embrace. Light and dark are soulmates. They greet bees and worms and doors and cups as children do. Hello, will you be my friend? Home. I am home. And then I have 2 short ones. This is called Faces. Every face the divine. Every day 100 times we miss our chance. Eyes cast downward. We shuffle along the sidewalk as if we're alone, alone on this crowded street of angels. And then this last one, the light runs deep. About my mom. She can barely speak. Beehive of doctors, sharp lights, piercing beeps. What state do you live in? Who is the president? Mom clutches my hand, her fear ice cold in my veins. I try to soften, remember the light that we are, see beyond this prison, speak that to her with my eyes. That's all we have now. And touch. Let her transfusion be blood and light. Let the liquid be divine nectar. Let love speak through my heart. May she fully receive it. Let us breathe deeply, surrender, move with life on its terms. Thank you.
Wow. So good. So
Thank
good. Thank
Thank
you. Wow, the personification, it was beautiful list, poems, details. It was very well crafted. Thank you. And now we have Laura Grevel.
Thank you very much, Amy.
Mhm.
Wonderful to be here. I'm so glad that I've caught Lily and now Susanne. I don't think I've heard Susanne before. And what a wonderful evening already. I'm going to read two pieces. And the first is called Airport. And at one point I was at an airport not so long ago, and suddenly this came to me as I looked at my fellow creatures. In this meeting place of not meeting, throngs gather, not speaking. Sunshine shines through windows, but not into the hearts of humans. Air rises above, hesitates to speak in this crowded circle of intent, where each waits in a tent alone, wearing their expressions of not seeing. Peering down at oracles of product, searching for the way of undoing the troubles of soul and sacred seeking. They wait while not waiting. Because waiting is a thing of the past, a forgotten gift no longer needed in places where we're meant to wait, not waiting. For the chairs to march forward, for the planes to speak, for the caterpillars to lunge, for the multitudes to speak in tongues, for human hands to rise and meet in peace and recognition, to dance in humanity's perfect storm. And the next piece, some of you know I've lived in different places, different countries, I think 5 or so by now. After a while, you don't really remember, it's sort of a blur, and people say which one was the best. And none were best, because there are wonderful people everywhere and everything is different. I mean, we're all people, but it's different. And everyone you see has good points in every country. This is called Children. You will gather children, those you seeded and not, from the fields and cities, from the very air. You will gather them because it is predestined to meet them and share. Love is a commodity in great demand. Attention is a precursor to giving a hand. Be not timid, be bold, be generous. Walk the road knowing the paths will connect. From the east and west, the north and south, they'll arrive with questions, with avenues for advice, with grief and joy. They'll arrive from all continents. They'll arrive with contests and baskets. They'll arrive with a boat for the future. There may not be a place for you on board, but there will be space for your spirit, your offering to those who sail. Thank you.
So amazing. Oh my gosh. I love your rhymes. I love your descriptions. And the last one was very mysterious and spatial. And it was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we have Ian McKenzie.
Hi, evening everybody. I've got two short ones and a slightly longer one. First two, they're older poems, and I don't think I'm not even sure I've actually performed them before, but I thought it would be nice, interesting to dig them out and give them an airing. So the first one is called Tea Ceremony. Wash away the dust of your mind with one simple act. Reduce life's cloying complications to its singular simplicity. Drink in the stillness, let it settle until the smallest ripple quiesces to flat calm. Look to the way of tea. Follow the holy rolling beat, the way of contemplation in an insignificant act. Approach this task with humility. Feel its unalloyed form slip into your receptive hands, or simply sit, enjoy a nice cup of cha, and let the drift take you where it will, at one with the world. Just explain, cha there is an English Cockney slang for tea. So like cha lady, not cha lady, it's a tea lady. Second one is called Pebble Time. Sitting in a shady spot, feeling cool instead of hot and flustered, an agreeable way to relax. Lie back, let the years flow over you like a pebble chilling out on the soft ripples of diamond-cut mountain streams. I could lay there whole eons long, caressed by currents of endless dreams, humming to plangent rhythms of the cosmos, fathomless low murmur of creeping infinity, perceptions lulled and dazed in dying embers of endless days, unaware of painful consequences, hard, sharp edges of keen senses, rolled and rounded off to dull, smooth surface, grown long in the tooth. And lastly, this was a recent one from a prompt that Kemlyn Tanbaps, Between the Lines. I think it was her daughter suggested, between our language, my identity. And this one's titled Flowers. In the narrow distance between us, between my words and your ears, a translation may sometimes take place. How might I define this strange transmutation? Is it possibly the effect of bad blood, some ancient grudge, or some misaligned crossed wires throwing wild sparks, short-circuiting the flow of meaning from my intention to your unintended misrepresentation? How else can I explain it, if otherwise it cannot be put down quite simply to willful misunderstanding? So I plant these seeds quite innocently, expecting chrysanthemums to grow. But when the budding flowers begin eventually to show themselves, revealing geraniums instead, it seems as if the chalice that I offered you has been poisoned, injected with the pungent scent of betrayal and disingenuous inflections. And though we may speak the same language, or so it may seem to an unfamiliar ear, You demand a quid pro quo of me, and language now becomes transactional, in which you demand too much from me in return for your acceptance, where my trust may be requited, taken at face value, but which I may take as slight. Thank you.
Very deft. All of that movement in that second poem, the movement of the water and the sharpness of the edges, and just wonderful, fascinating. Thank you. Thank you. Now we have Lesley Constable.
Hello, Lily, thank you so much for your set. It was very moving. Of course, it was a lot of it was about rivers, so of course. I too love rivers, and I've written a lot of poems about rivers, and they're actually short, so I'm going to just read a few of them that I've written. This one's simply called River. When we left the river, it was to move inland. The wind urged a sorrow that we did not give into, and with sorrow not braced, we walked. Yet sorrow, waiting for us downstream, sighed as it would. Hearing it, we listened. Why is it then, this, that sorrow only ever waits, not visible, while the sun is high and warming us through to the soul, where we join and we know we are joined thus? It is good this way. It is as it should be and needed, to not shrink in sadness, we in the fullness of the sun when it is hot upon us, but too all the while we listen to the sighs rising up from river that knows us as we walk along with it. This is the other part of what we need before turning inward, away from the sun. Then, in heading east, we move inland. So the next one is called This River. This is in my first collection. It is not understood how the blood can run hot, yet the skin remain cool to the touch. The cure is to meet fire with fire. How can you predict this step, the footfall of another close by who does not make himself known to you? Random moves, sudden now, or variously, nothing, and stillness. How can you predict this? How can you have the want, the desire to stay, when in a moment it is all brought to naught? Below zero, the freeze, the blood brought to the boil only to cool and languor again, to be wrought cold when the blood mustn't be, never can be cold. The blood, this fierce life coursing so wild, this river that cannot be stilled. Then finally, this is homage to my beginnings. My parents, my American father and my English mother met due to an injury during World War II. My father was injured. And when he became well enough to move around, he'd met my mother, and they courted beside the River Avon, which flows through Bristol, where I was conceived. It's called Courting the Waters. 1. The day beckons you to join it and asks you to suspend yourself, the workings of your heated mind to tune itself to a note that can be heard. Transform the tunings, the turnings of your mind. Each revolution you dance and turn, you dance here on earth, to suspend disbelief that you can join its dance, the dance of your days on earth, feet touching ground, face looking upward, feeling the sky, the clouds, the canopy overhead, cosseting you to stretch the arms high, to touch sky, which touches you, and you touch the ground. 2, and you reach the bank, to touch its ground, the bank. The River Avon touches to get your feet wet in the waters that wind themselves through earth and 3. You walk to the source you know from the inside, the Avon that winds and reaches to all the places of earth, the stretches of the ground you hold most sacred, the banks of this, the river Avon. Your parents walked as lovers, and you emerged, urged into being by their words from their talking, their words tattooed on you, words tattooed in their walking, by the walking, from their walking, and you in love, in love, in love with the life they gave you, that you now inside this walk as did they along its banks. So that's all for me. Thanks so much, Lily, for the beautiful set and the inspiration.
Always so beautiful, flowing. The last one was so incredibly moving and poignant that you were at the river that they were at. And it just, very moving. Thank you. Now we have Therese Craine Bertsch. Bertsch? Did I say it right?
Yep, Bertsch.
Bertsch.
Yeah, well, thanks. It's been really great. And Lily, you're just phenomenal. It's always like an honor to be with fellow poets. This is a new one. It's a very simple one and short. And then I have some haikus. And if it seems not too long, I have one other little one, and I may or may not say it. So this is called, and Lily, this is a word that you kind of used too, the hollowing. Solitary. I take in the morning air. I look. Lounge chairs vacant on the deck. I stay. The ocean spray covers my face and every trace of sorrow gone. I sink deep inside of me. I remain, wandering into the stillness, nothing to say. This is actually, Finn put out this little prompt. I like a haiku. I like a haiku. 7 words suck you in and end with a punchline. So I won't repeat it because there's a few of them. And the second one is poet's haiku about AI. There's some difference between information and embodied language. And this is the amazing 3. Hey, what do you know? Tennessee is in the house and they won't let go. And this is called Lying Cults. Geranium buds won't be seen by the children shot dead by AR-15s. This is the little deaths. Spring ignites fragrances, awakening, healing those turned from their sorrow. And this is a haiku of love to poets. We make our words dance. How do we make the words sing? It's all bound in love. And the addition, poets treasure trove, reaching inside our feelings, painting them with love. And so this is the little one. It's the only one that I could say, I love all these nature poems. I don't write many nature poems. This is about the closest I get to a nature poem. And actually it was written 3 years ago. It's called Desire. I am 80 years old, and I recall being here, the chill on a cool spring day. Empty of companions, solitary and satisfied, I am content wearing my nice cashmere sweater, a Christmas gift. No one here to wear it for yet. This place, it smells of the sea, and every breeze carries her beautiful scent. There are no questions, just loneliness and longing. We are made for love. I remember this place. Thank you.
So wonderful. So well thought through.
Thanks.
Thank you. Wonderful. Agata Palmer. Is she still here?
Hi, good
There you are.
evening. Thank you, Amy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Wonderful poetry. Thank you for having me here tonight. And I keep changing the poems inspired by poets. than the river. So I've got three little poems for you today. First one is about a balafon. It's a wooden xylophone made in Cameroon, a xylophone, a balafon. Click-clacking in bass baritone, only just resonant with your bulbous chords. I'm milking melody from your wooden slats via 14 musical udders. Tapping your surface moderato, a walkway over the river of sounds, a pier over Lake Yashing in Poland, where water shone between the planks, revealing tiny fish racing low down, close to the yellow sand of the lake bed. At night, we'd get torches and homemade crayfish catchers, 2 sieves tied to 2 sticks, a giant grubbing with cupped hands. The poor crayfish cried, being boiled from camouflage into bright red. Eating greedily, our hunter-gatherer instinct was stronger than reason, click-clacking back into the 80s. Apologies to all vegans, including my son. Yes, we're trying to atone for those sins of hunter-gathering. Anyway, the second poem is after Ruth, is it Gendler or Gendler? Gendler, I think. Ruth Gendler's A Book of Qualities. Quite charming, if you are familiar with her. Joy is migratory, a chirping chaffinch, a small bundle of song with zebra wings. It promises to stay, but won't. Leaves just when you get used to her around the house or dare taking it for granted. Its song is a hammock for my ears, chai for chapped lips, honey on spelt toast. It promises to stay and won't. My tidal joy leaves handfuls of shells. Sometimes they scatter, stutter, shutter under my feet. Thank you. And this third one, these two I've just shared with you are in an anthology coming out next month. I am actually stuck in Poland with a broken foot, and I've missed a launch of another anthology and the whole of poetry festival that's happening in Bristol now. But I'm gaining time with my family in Poland. This last poem is about crossing different bodies of water, and River Avon is in it, especially for you, Lesley. Crossings. My father was a captain, ordered to cross the Baltic Sea in a boat with a half-sealed bowdle, barely watertight. Excuse me. Excuse me, barely watertight, but luckier than the Zeebrugge ferry, which capsized when water poured in, drowning 193 of its passengers. The responsibility perforated his stomach, ulcers flooding his gut with blood, while our relationship was already hemorrhaging. He survived. But seen as added stress, I wasn't allowed to visit. I emigrated across the sea to create enough distance between us. None of it matters right now, as I'm floating down the River Avon, drenched as summer birds, drenched in summer birdsong, in the slow flow of a Sunday morning with a friend beside me. Our things bundled inside a high-tech sack for an easy swim, even though we are carrying everything we need. Suddenly, I'm thinking about the dark night on the Belgian coast, the people thrown from the Herald into the English Channel, and refugees who'd left their families making impossible choices, falling from their rafts into the Mediterranean, unable to float. Thank you. The subject is so difficult. I keep stumbling over my words. Forgive me, but that was my last one. Thank you so much.
Wonderful storytelling. Thank you so much. Wonderful detail. Very moving at the end. Now we have Joy Johnson.
Hello.
Hello.
So I have a I want to start with one that is after a sonnet by E.E. Cummings. And I chose this because it's admittedly impenetrable. So you have my complete permission to not understand anything about it, or the freedom to let it be whatever you want it to be. It's not completely impenetrable, but I promise you the ending is, because I know when I wrote it, I meant something, and I have no idea anymore what it was I meant when I wrote it. But it's E.E. Cummings, okay? It's called Dad, Grandma's Driveway. Love may be there as time is to living. Living means love eating, imagine it. Standing, smiling, beaming, love's loose giving, one yes day to remember against. Green leaf house happiness, backdrop in spring. Before death you dealt, Dad, we had a day. Reality is a grinding thing, and you needn't essaying obey. When gladly I and another pursue, doubts never submission to love's success of E.E. or a devotee, a one who adores syllables, never love obsessed, ever bowled over, no matter willing endings, bettering younger guesses possessed. So I just felt, you know, everybody's been writing these very clear, beautiful nature images and everything, that we needed a dose of like, what? I want to do a couple of things that are particularly, I think, for Earth Day. This first one is called The Gift. Marco Pakochnik says, the new world is coming, and those who are awake to it will be embraced. The rest of us, this hallowed, this exquisite old world, what of us? I don't need woo-woo. You want to see how everything is connected? No need to call on a spiritual realization. Look around. What fed you? More than enough to care for here and now. I believe there is no better world than this magnificent feast that birthed everything in your life. This fight is just and worthwhile. My life in a moment for her and her progeny, even if you'd say I'm asleep. And then a very short one called War is Not Green. Speaking of England, by the way, okay. Hyde Park was green and Speaker's Corner was right there. We went for lunch at the Hard Rock. The waiter told me if I didn't like it, send it back. It was my right. His eyes were black and I was green. 2 teenage girls in London, and somehow our waiter decided he had a lesson for me. I wish I had stood on Speaker's Corner and told the world war is not green. Thank you. Okay. Okay, I'll read this. It's called A Plague in Miracles. The unimaginable dance of chaos with order, matter with energy, the interconnectedness of everything that shows up in Bell's inequalities, the utter dumbfound of the questions about personal agency. If all of this is not enough to make you swoon at the complex emergent phenomena, then I guess be my guest and make stuff up. It doesn't change that man's march has been consistently, or so, towards unmagification of reality. You want to call this unreality? What are you doing here then? How's that free will feeling? Again, there really is an impressive spin of probabilities, of balancing equations, of reconfiguring, praise Zeus, that goes into this edifice of actuality. And it contains suffering. Can your heart, without imagining penalties? And if you would like, I have a sonnet, one sonnet that about my horse that will probably make me cry, or you can cut me off now. You guys want to hear my sonnet about my horse? Okay. It's called Fury because that was his name. Okay. Best friend ever. He with his full groove on, loved me for being clueless and awkward, teenager, a person. Always bonhomme, we were quite a team, and when we wandered the desert together, what could be better than the trust, so easy and innocent, of youth? I never discerned the debtor I was for his friendship till impotent years and years later. Now I see it clearly. He saved me in so many ways, whereas I made my heart stone, departed. Hear me. If there is some resonant wave after death claim you, I loved you in caravans of tenderness and devotion, a canter. I was trying really hard not to cry. I'm sorry.
That's beautiful. It's fine. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Lovely. And I love how your poems are like in code. You take out anything extraneous and you pack it really tightly, and I want your vocabulary. Thank you so much.
That's not what most people say about my poems. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You deserve it. And now we have Richard Spisak. Did I say that right?
Yes, well, close. Spisak.
Spisak. I'm so
Yep.
sorry.
That's quite all right, quite all right. I have two pieces for you, and I will warn you, these are essay questions, so you'll need to complete your papers and turn them in at the end of the period. Here we go, the first piece. These are seriously Earth poems because I'm not from around here. I'm new on this planet, and consequently it has quite an impression on me. This is called Up on Garbage Mountain. Many of you have noticed around major cities, there's these great piles of trash. They're eyesores at best, poisonous at worst. Okay, here we go. Up on Garbage Mountain. Up on Garbage Mountain, along the Biscayne Bay, although the seagulls stop for dinner, they seldom fly away. It would seem a foul idea to build it up so high. It's not too wise to leave out all that garbage, piling higher, vaster, wide. Mountainous high, strenuous glazes, heat hassle hazes, layers strumming, summing suns drumming, heating, stuffed surprise. Trucks take dumps on hasty humps, leak, laughing, pungent snares, vapors drifting, wafting, lifting, sifting through the air, waves welling, falling, smelling up the air. Don't rush right up or drink the cup. without a seal-tight mask to wear. We don our yellow gloves there, our acid-tested boots, completely airtight overalls and air-conditioned suits, with special pressure steel-toed boots amid the gushing whoosh. The bugs are mighty strange there. We've quite a special strain. The chemicals they've hatched in resemble acid rain. They carry mighty virus, sure, a highly aggressive brood. So do not park your car nearby. They've acquired a taste for tires. Radials are good. The roaches that survive there have carborundum shells, and when they fly from place to place, falling, sparking, trails are traced. The mud that moves, we call it. Watching some crawl by, don't get any on your shoe. It'll eat right through you quick. And should you dare to poke it, it'll probably eat your stick. One thing you'll find amazing as it reaches cloud-rimmed Olympic heights. There's one thing true that it can do. Bring into a tourist's well-earned view a look at that strange and bloated large, a Jersey and a garbage barge, ripe as homeless and as sad a sight as a garbage truck, out of luck and gas, with a year's young load of your own waste. Like the taste? Up on Garbage Mountain. And for my second piece, a special tribute to Earth Day. And this, I want to recall for you just a second. Remember the recent explosion of a Millionaire's missile? It was deemed a sudden, unscheduled disassembly. It wasn't an explosion, it was a sudden, unscheduled disassembly. And I want to bring to your mind, picture an alien craft, meaning from not around here, flying by the Earth, a little brown, crusty, sort of burnout planet, many, many, many distant epochs in the future. And this little conversation occurs between a young alien and his alien uncle, who's taking him for a Sunday drive. What happened to that planet, Uncle dear? It experienced a sudden, unexpected disassembly. Now that planet is just a memory. Was it hurt by a comet? No, my lad, it was destroyed by what was on it. Was it a sudden outbreak of disease? Didn't they have all they need? No, my boy, sadly, it was all about greed. Did the water boil away? No, little one, it was the polluter's hand, they would not stay. Did the air turn all of a sudden volcanic? No, my boy, but the mob rule kept the foolish in a panic. Did a meteor fall from the sky? 'Tis a sorrier tale, says I. They drowned in a great sea of guns. They never known what they'd done. Did no one warn them? What was said? Never enough, boy. They must have had in their heads there was some planet B. They'd just go to a highway and see. Now it's just a stinking ruin. Uncle, is it true what they say about that ancient race, the humans? Sure, and 'tis sad, my son. There's nothing doing with that sad suck race. What will you say, Uncle, with some grace? You're kinder than that. Here's what I say. Take care of your planet and have a happy Earth Day. Happy Earth Day!
You are so very clever. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for speaking truth. Jeff Cottrill.
Yeah, here I am. Okay, so I'll do a couple. The first one is kind of newish. It's called How to Win Any Debate or Argument Without Even Trying. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Jeff Talk. So you'd like to learn how to win any debate or argument without even trying, would you? It's a simple technique known as the straw man, or for the mathematically inclined, the straw man squared. I like to call it the Benny. The first step, when somebody makes a point, you call that point a straw man argument. It doesn't matter how relevant or sensible the statement may or may not be, you can invalidate it just by labeling it as a straw man. And then, here's the important part. You come up with your own straw man reason as to why that point is a straw man. Bonus points if you can twist your opponent's statement into a personal attack against you. And when your opponent rebuts, you shout, "I'm shutting you down." and then you strut away as if you've won by default. If you've done this correctly, your opponent will be too confused to offer any coherent counterarguments. Checkmate for you. Let's have a look at the straw man in action. I like apples. Apples are fine, but I prefer oranges. Straw man! That's a straw man argument. How is that a straw man? It's a straw man because you're saying I'm trying to ban oranges. You're implying apples are unhealthy and dangerous. I never said anything like that. I'm shutting you down. Person one struts away. You see how easy it is? Let's look at another example. Comic book movies are awesome because they kick ass. Sure, but I wish Hollywood had more room for original or independent fare. Straw man! That's a straw man argument. Huh? That's a straw man because you're saying comic book movies are childish and petty. You're saying I'm not smart enough to understand or appreciate art house cinema. Huh? I'm shutting you down. Person one struts away. And there, our expert scores another victory point. Mission accomplished. Now here's another common scenario. This one's a little more complicated, but watch how deftly our expert uses the Benny to pull off another triumph. We have to deplatform all writers and artists whose opinions I don't like. Doesn't that contradict freedom of expression, though? A truly free society welcomes all points of view and engages in nuanced thoughts. Straw man! What are you talking? Straw man! Straw man! You're saying I hate free speech. Straw! You man! Shut up! You're kind of proving my... Shut up! Just shut up! I'm shutting you down! Person one struts away. And there you have it. Another well-earned win for our hero. By using the Benny, we never have to engage honestly or directly with anybody else's perspectives ever again. One last point. I'm sure many of you are thinking that the satire of this whole piece is itself a huge straw man. Just some bullshit I made up to distract from my own limited debating skills. This would make it a straw man, or if you will, a straw man cubed. I don't blame you for thinking that, but one, I swear I'm not making it up. I actually know a couple of guys who do this stuff. And two, that's a straw man. It's a straw man because you're implying I'm made of straw. You're saying I'm just a scarecrow. So I'm shutting you down. Thank you for attending my Jeff talk. Okay, that was how to win any debate or argument without even trying. And for my second one, I'm going to do a cover. So I understand Mother's Day is coming up soon. So here's an emotional piece about Mother's Day. It's by the great British poet and songwriter Andy Summers, and it's just called Mother. Well, the telephone is ringing. Is that my mother on the phone? Telephone is ringing. Is that my mother on the phone? The telephone is screaming. Won't she leave me alone? The telephone is ringing. Is that my mother on the phone? Oh, oh. Well, every girl that I go out with becomes my mother in the end. Every girl that I go out with becomes my mother in the end. Well, I hear my mother calling, but I don't need her as a friend. Well, every girl I go out with becomes my mother in the end. Oh, mother dear, please listen and don't devour me. Oh, mother dear, please listen, don't devour me. Oh, woman, please have mercy. Let this poor boy be. Oh, mother dear, please listen and don't devour me. Oh, mother. Well, the telephone is ringing. Is that my mother on the phone? Telephone is ringing. Is that my mother on the phone? Telephone is screaming. Won't she leave me alone? The telephone is ringing. Is that my mother on the phone? Oh, mother! That was Mother by Andy Summers for Mother's Day. Isn't that sweet? I'll put some stuff in the chat just for fun.
Oh my gosh, you make me laugh every time. Thank you. And the first one reminded me of Marjorie Taylor Greene so much.
Oh, of course.
Sad, but very well done. Thank you. Is Clyde Watkins here? I don't think he's here. Maggie, not here. Okay, Kate Jenkinson.
Hi, everybody. we seem to be doing themed poetry, and I've been writing to the National Poetry Writing Month prompts that I've been creating for myself. But there is a water one in there, so this was prompt. Let me just go back and tell you. They're all neurodiversity themed. So this was about what calms you, and when your senses are aggravated, and that quite often happens for people with neurodivergent conditions. So I'm not sure what really soothes me. Water is where I go. When I need to regain my sense of flow, running water reminds me, although it's seldom still, that movement is purposeful and rhythmic. It hydrates me when I drink it. It cleans me when I need it. It soothes me when I see it. I may not always realize the power it possesses, but water is my go-to when I've frazzled all my senses. Written in like a few seconds on, I think that was on day 9. This next piece is a longer piece. It's Forgive Me. I'm practicing for a slam, so I'm going to try to do this without referring to any words, and it's called Triggered. And then there were 4. As well as fight, flight, freeze, there's fawn. Of course there's more. The poetic definition of fawning is a people pleaser. I've always been a people pleaser, not dissimilar to a Malteser. It's meaning literal. I am a minstrel without the music, heroic poetry set to rhythm. Lyrical ideas ripple out of me, velvety, smooth and calmly cool. I've a bounty of love for the weary travellers amongst us. Yes, the well-loved, much misunderstood Malteser, the cheeky teaser, the idea conceiver, the moment seizer, the nation's favourite chocolate sweet. One suck and all the shape is lost. Sugar high turns to honeycomb crumbs. All my boundaries collapsed and crossed. Yes, crossed. I'm crossing the line thinking I've finished a winner, and every time I'm crossing the line of your trust. This neurodiversity boundary between you and me makes careful communication a must. My right is your wrong, and your right is a mystery. I may be surrounded by your common sense, but that's my originality. I don't see the difference, don't follow the inference, never know the offence I've committed. I only know I'm not limited by been there before, or this is the way it's always been done. If there's a new way to see it, a better way to be it, then I'm going to follow that path, especially if it's more fun. If you judge by a fish by its ability to climb trees, it will live its life believing it is stupid or thinking that you are. I am that fish. I'm a breath of fresh air, the wild card in the recruitment slate, the unconventional, innovative, hard to replicate Kate. But it's infuriating and anti-diversity. When you hire me for this, then expect me to fit in. So I'm remaining a fish. Imagine that tree now as a career ladder, broken and breaking, gaps where slats should be, and that's how it's been for me. A squiggly career can be forced on you when you get pushed off time after time. It's a game of snakes and ladders with a loaded dice. That's why Maltesers fawn. That's why fish drown in air. Thank you. And a final little tiny one for Earth Day, if I may. So my prompt today wasn't anything to do with Earth, but it was to do with If I can't exist, it doesn't, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist, sorry. So it's about object impermanence. So if anybody you know has ADHD or has a brain that is like that, once things are behind closed doors, we forget about these things. And I related it to poetry in business. You don't see poetry in business, so it doesn't exist, yet it does. Poetry is truth. When you seek the one truth, the beauty of a perfect ratio, the joy of the win-win scenario, the plan everyone wants you to follow, it was a poetic way of thinking that made it so. And then Earth Day, just a little one, sorry. I didn't see our planet today. I stayed inside my brick-built house. I disconnected from my origins and lived inside my make-believe. I didn't feel the earth between my toes. I didn't feel the rain upon my skin. I didn't hear the distant winds moan that we had started something we had no way of finishing. Thank you.
Wow, Kate, so profound, so well done, so well done. Thank you. Thank you. And now we have Eike Waltz.
Hi, Lily Rex. Thank you, Lily Rex. I lived 16 years in London, and the River Thames can tell many stories about the use of its waters. But nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to know how many times the Thames water has been drunk when passing through London.
I want to know all the river stories.
It's 4 times. Now, I'm not sure if I read this before, but so be it. Son of a gun, or when the second shoots the first into the foot. I admit I came to America to make money, build a house, sit in it, open the window and look at the sea, birds and bees. Yes, I let my cat respond to the knock on the door. Knock, knock, who's there? And my cat says, meow. Only to realize the profound American love for legalized corruption, often mistaken for freedom, as so patriotically proclaimed. And then I was lucky to listen to Mahalia Jackson singing the traditional American spiritual. He's got the whole world in his hands, not only being captivated by the simplicity of its magic words or being fascinated by her innate musicality, but being deeply touched by the genuine tears escaping her eyes. With tears in my eyes. Once I became an American. So let me repeat. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got my brothers and my sisters in his hands. He's got all mothers and fathers in his hands. And then he's got a gun in his hand. He's got a mean gun in his hand. He's got a gun in his hand. He's had a bad day and each around. He shot a brother in the head. He shot his big brother in the head. He shot his sister in the back. He shot his sweet little sister in the back. He shot a mother in her back. He shot them all in cold blood. He's got an angry gun on his mind. He's got an angry gun in his ears. He's got an angry gun up his nose. He's got an angry gun in his mouth. He's got a target in his mean eyes. He's got a target in his cold sleep. And then, let's not forget a mean gunner, a misguided Magasan, a mean gunner, a disgruntled kid or man, A mean gunner has access to any, whatever gun, guided by legalized corruption and by whatever motive under the sun. Misguided by an outdated Second Amendment only constitutional lawyers comprehend. Misguided by a perverse interpretation of freedom. Misguided by misguided shareholders. As long as killing machines turn a profit, we don't care. Misguided by a misguided system that promotes the right to kill very well. Yes. Now he has got a gun in his hand. He's had a mean gun till his end. And then he had the whole world in one hand, the same hand that pulled that trigger till his end, the same hand that dropped that blooded gun. What an end. And all the silver bullets in his defense do not help, do not understand. He's got no flowers on his grave. He's got no tears that forgave. All that automatic gun could not make him an exceptional, free American man. Yes, he's had a violent gun, one of the best, and I have a painful lump in my chest. And then he's had the whole world in his hands. He's had my whole world in his hands. Yes. Guns don't kill, they say. I get it. But Americans armed with guns kill. Now that I watch frustrated TV and see the tears of my neighbors, I wished I could make a difference every day. Let's face it, an assault gun will never be brave and got nothing to do with being free. Hate and revenge, forever human, cannot be exacerbated by technology, however ingenious, however empowering, spreading only deadly hate and pain. Epilogue. It is another sad week in the USA, but who is counting? In this past year, 2022, we experienced over 600 mass shootings alone. The statistics show that most of these weapons of war involved were purchased, yes, legally. And we still believe that we are the land of the free, 120 guns per 100 residents, the land of the brave, approximately 20,000 gun-related deaths per year. What the hell are the free and the brave defending? Just remember, if you give kids a toy, they are most likely to play with it. The analogy is that simple. Give humans guns and they will kill. Remember what happened in Australia. In the 18 years before the rigorous 1996 gun law reform, there were 13 mass shootings. Not one single mass shooting since this date. Yes, all non-hunting guns were confiscated. Australia, so brave and now free. Think again when we tell us that we're supposed to be the exceptional, brave and free nation. But for what reason we remain stubbornly out of date, out of touch? Cowardice, I dare to say. Only and counting the dead, our statistics become more sophisticated. It takes at least 4 killings per shooting, they say, to be officially qualified as mass shooting, they say. Otherwise, the shooting is not even newsworthy. This is what they say, and silent is the NRA. It is time to stop hunting rabbits, school children, and neighbors with an assault-style AR-15 gun. Bang, bang, fuck the NRA. Amen. Amend the Second Amendment, we say, amen. A private citizen, any private citizen owning or in need of an AR-15 automatic gun is, by default, mentally ill. Thank you.
Powerful. So powerful. Thank you. Much needed. Have you shared that poem anywhere yet? Here, but
I'm not sure.
Okay, no worries. I would share it widely if you could. This is so good. Thank you. And now we have Deborah Burris-Kitchen. Yes, making sure you're still here.
Yes, I'm still here. Thank you. I'd like to read two of them if it's okay. The first one is called ¿Por qué mi salido masculino? Do you not see me? I'm a beautiful and fertile rose. You eat out of my garden and nourish your body with the food I have slain and cooked. ¿Por qué mi soldado masculino? Do you not hear me? I screamed in pain as your son I carried for 9 months forced his way out of my small wound. I stepped in front of the revolver as I heard the hammer click, saving you from the rage and violence you have caused. I can't breathe as you hold a pillow over my mouth to silence me. I still cry loud for the hatred to stop, but you can't hear me. ¿Por qué mi soldado masculino? Do you not feel me? When you caress my body, your touch is not soft. Your hands are rough and warm like a roofer's in a hot sun. My body calls out for you to gently stroke my form, but your hands of sandpaper scar my body. ¿Por qué mi soldado masculino? Can't I live in a world where I do not tremble when I think about the power you possess to destroy me? Instead, you beat and rape me, discard my words, and treat me with disrespect. ¿Por qué mi soldado masculino? Won't you protect me? Why did you not slay the lion as it charged me? You threw me to the wolves and watched as they ravaged my body. You are filled with poison and inject me with each malicious bite. Your constant need just for self-affirmation is as fatiguing as me moving that 1,000-pound rock you rolled in front of my room to subjugate me. You say it is for my fortification. I call it control and isolation. ¿Por qué mi soldado masculino? Do you betray me? To which God did you sell your soul? Can you live with your blood-stained hands? Will you ever be free from the death of your mother and sisters as you watch men cut and suck the blood out of them? ¿Por qué mi soldado masculino? Do you not water my flowers, tend to my garden, and pray for the sun to shine down upon me so I can grow tall, strong like you? See me, feel me, hear me, touch me, nurture me, breathe me, love me. And the other one is my attempt at playing with the Ars Poetica. Poetry should unlock the door to my prison cell. Free me to speak, rip the duct tape from the mouth so I can scream. Free me to rise, unshackle my feet, take the weights off my wings. Free me from being overwhelmed with self-pity. Inject me with a high dose of empathy. Make me strong so I can confront those who are imprisoning me. Free me to hear my truth, silence the dissenting voices in my head. Bring me peace so I can write words that will soothe the depths of your soul. Poetry should not be about me. Poetry should be about you too. May I feel your grief? I would swim across the sea if it helped you heal. May I hear your cries so I can feel how deep your pain is. May I see you so I can draw a portrait of your inner beauty to share with the world. May our hearts touch so we know ecstasy for a moment as they pump as one. Poetry should not just exist, it must insist. It should demand that we all be freed, free to feel, free to see, free to heal, free to plead, free to speak. Keep our dignity. Let me write to free you and me. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing those personal poems and the intricacy of the inner world of emotions. It was wonderful. Thank you. Chilling too. James Floyd.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for making it possible for us to come together and share our feelings. First, I got two poems and a haiku. This first one is titled Random Unimpulses, and it's from my latest book, co-authored with a photographer named Mark McAvoy. Think tanks wed PR firms and give birth to icons who grow up to fall the paragon and stand for products. It's all about money. Politically correct leaders vote on moral issues for paychecks that don't quite measure up to the standard of living that comes with the job of never having enough power. And had there been welfare 2,000 years ago, Joseph and Mary would have been able to raise Jesus Christ in a semi-decent place, to believe that he needed a little chemical stimulation to help him become the Christ while on his way to the joint with 3 to 5 for B&E instead of the cross for our sins, because it's all about religion. And if 12-year-old virgins had rose bushes in their underwear, some old clergy would have thorns in their brains, because it's all about facades. And if I say this poem in public, it's going to upset affluent apple carts, send shockwaves through the crab syndrome, and probably piss some praise, but that's okay. I never filled out an application, because being an icon don't mean nothing no way. It's all about spirituality. Okay, that's the first one. Second one is for Earth Day. It's called The Painful Truth. And when I first said this poem in the 1980s at Windows on the Cumberland, and during that period of time, it took some courage to say that poem, but now it doesn't take any courage to say it, because most people understand what's happening. The painful truth. I've seen flowers bloom, wither, die, and get trampled into dust, but I've never seen a flower motivated by greed, jealousy, envy, or mistrust. I've seen trees stand tall and proud, showing the world all their strength, then tumble to the earth and rot away then. I've seen trees bend against the wind to protect the land, but I've never seen a tree destroy another tree just to prove it can. I've seen a rabbit sunning in a meadow have to suddenly run for cover. Poor little rabbit fears just about everything except a jealous lover. I've seen a rock lying on the ground, unable to move a single grain of sand, turn into a deadly weapon when held in the palm of a hand. I've seen a pack of hungry gray wolves cut the life of many weaker short, but I've never seen those savage beasts killed needlessly for what we would call sport. I've seen animals mate by day and be gone their separate ways by night, but there's only one species in all of nature that gets drunk, comes home, and starts a fight. I've seen the ground covered with cool glitter in winter. I've seen it covered with golden leaves in fall. And in springtime, I've seen it covered with blood for no sensible reason at all. Only one species in all of nature destroys just to destroy, and gloats and boasts over senseless victories and feels a sense of joy. Oh, how perfect is this creation until you get to us. All others inspire pleasure and beauty. We inspire disgust. Okay, now the haiku. 1, time turned hope to dust. 2, bitter tears diluted dreams. 3, faith is in full bloom. Thank you.
Wow, James, so powerful and so spot on in your perspective, especially about nature being so much better than human beings. I mean, we're part of it, but we don't imitate it as much as we should. That was wonderful. Thank you. Would anyone else like to read that didn't get on the list? Okay, is there someone there? Oh, okay, I thought I
Me
said
sighing, Amy.
Okay, here are a few from me. I'm not going to introduce them, I'm just going to read them. Angels Needed. U2 sings I Will Be With You Again. Gospel revival pulses in Saturday's wind. Villalobos bacchanalian symphonies to a primal rainforest no longer there. The rainforest on fire. Fires people set. Poison the water. We loop nature videos on television. What if those forests, birds, beaches were no longer there? We loop on them just the same. Remember when? Can it be better? Hard not to fall for the gospel spells, hour after hour broadcast into the spring air. Now it's Monday morning, a beautiful day. The news is chilling. Now it's in our town. 3 children, 3 adults killed by an active shooter at the elementary and preschool. A beautiful day and blood spilled in the classroom. Again, 6 spirits, this time lamenting and being mourned. This is my applique for the fresh trauma for our children and families. Kids on lockdown facing death in such a way, such an early age. The world should stop each time. Go absolutely silent. After the shooting, we walk with every step weighted. Grief again for today's victims. No solution in sight. Every action we take, every breath is a journey forward and away from death. We mourn with many layers, perspectives, the stages of grief. It takes time to lift our heads again for what the new day brings. It's spring, and on a beautiful Monday here, blood was spilled and lives shattered needlessly, senselessly. U2 sings elevation, lifting everything up. Hope floats in the mix of shock and anger. Hope is action. Disbelief, all these stages of grief, this anchor of sadness, I have to surrender. How do we prepare for where we find ourselves? Calling all angels, we need you now. Thank you. The stillness. Green as a beetle, luminescent, floating like dandelion seeds and plastic Dollar General bags. It's a war of culture now. It's on, literally fighting to save innocent people's lives. Where's your heart? Is it bought and sold? Her ghost seeks refuge. Even the killer, I can't let you in. It's not on me to forgive you. Bitter since Monday, I can't forget. It's Easter again without you. Keep watching for soft signs springing up green, blooming from the earth. Editing the landscape one weed at a time, I feel as awful as thinning carrot seedlings. They resist, and I have to pull them out by their roots. The man in the white fedora, Ricky, has driven a golden sedan to the park across the street. He visits the memorial he made for his son who died of a heart attack at 44 last year, right there in the park. He drinks a beer, waves at passersby who honk if they know him. Sometimes he's shot off a gun out there out of desperation, hurting no one. Today he's parked his car in front, standing up on the grassy bank. It's Easter, and he remembers his lost son. He gets in his car and he stays there for some time. I worry he might hurt himself, but he soon drives away. Today the mass shooting is in Louisville. I can't hear the numbers. None of it makes sense. Nightmares of everyone fighting the wars we find ourselves in. I'm still breathing through all the things you did in the 60s, 70s, 80s, distant times that suddenly feel present, tumultuous, wrong. full of rainbows of colors as a counterculture explosion, then a return to brown, harvest gold, green, cream, black, as if the 60s never happened. The war and the blood, monotone, monotony. Everyone's fighting a new culture war. The world is turning in on itself, trying to erase its own history with lies. All the surfers line up to catch the waves of the day. Ancient, yet always changing. Pale pink nail polished in early April. It's like I'm at the beaches again. All of them line up so simply, yet profound. Used to be you could get just about anything 24/7 at the park across the street. Sex, drugs. A woman told me to let the city know it wasn't safe for kids anymore. Too many needles and used condoms. Now only the memorial for Ricky's son, little Ricky, is there beneath an oak tree that makes us tiny in comparison. The lesson is, it's empty now. There's one mother who walks her 2 toddlers there. It's surreal. That's what parks are for, after all. Grief everlasting in every step, beat of my heart. The stillness is not peace. That's a long one. Thank you. One more, and I'll be done. Okay. This one was recently published by Oidron magazine in California. It's called The Constant, and I wrote it in early December. The madness for tulips in the 1700s, now in 2022, nesting 10 bulbs in 3 containers outside to wait for springtime. Pink cashmere, or so the label reads. One can only hope. Son míticas. They are mythical in a time without mythology. Reality TV. It tastes chemical, alchemical, mystical. Son místicas. The herbal tea is good medicine. A peace offering. I forgot. I remember all the things I've forgotten. There's no subterfuge here. Just blurry and clear visions like clouds hovering, reformulating over darkness and light. Heart full of rain, holes where your love used to be. It was gone before I was. Lost little girl song, Jim Morrison, my soundtrack, not knowing why. Vietnam was just part of the landscape. Infinity loop. Mobius strip makes a figure 8, a snake biting its tail. What is as infinite, constant as stars? Sun? It's raining thoroughly on the tulip bulbs in their earthy nests, delighted with the feel of fresh water on their outsides, stirring them to bloom in a specific way. A lovely part of my Christmas presents from you: seeds, tomatoes, flowers, African basil. Nature is our constant changing beast of a world, worlds and worlds, infinite stories to be told. Magnificent, expansive as the sky, beyond stars to infinity, coming back down to earth. It is a constant being on this earth. The planet among planets and stars, it is enough. Snake eating its tail, infinity. Time loops in your eyes. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm blown away by everyone today, by Lily's wonderful feature, everyone's wonderful water poetry. It was just a wonderful experience. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Lily.
It's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you,
everyone.
Amy.
You too. Thank
Thank
you.
you
Have
so
a
much.
blessed evening.
Thank
I'll
you,
get some
Amy, for
rest.
putting this on. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Lovely. Thank you.